Hello, back with another Manga Talks video. Today we're going to go through a random assortment of a couple of recent reads that I had. So we've got 3 manga and also 1 art book, because this one specifically, the reason why I call it a read is because there was a lot of writing in it, and I did do a bit of research into Kiyoshi Awazu, which I've shown off this book in the past. But we'll get started with the first book for today. This one is, I have been wanting to read this for quite a while. This is Gishi Sanjin or Sanjin by Shino Ura, or the fake biography of Sanjin. So this is, for me, the follow-up to the Harmful Innocent Toys story, although there's nothing related to it because this is just the second book I've read after that, and they only have 2 books out. So big book for me because I love Shino Ura so much. If you watch my video in the past about Shino Ura, I made one specifically on the Harmful Innocent Toys manga. It's one of my favorite manga of all time, mainly because of how creative it is. And this story here, or this book, pretty much has the same format where you have a lot of short stories. The titular story is the Sanjin Den one, which is kind of like a documentary, mockumentary style, but very detailed artwork throughout all of them. So this, for me, it's got a lot more stories because the Yugai Muzai Ganku, or the Harmful Innocent Toys tankobon, they had 4 stories, but this one has 6 stories. And so this time, there is a difference actually in terms of the works that are shown here. You still have that trademark creativity that you see from Shino Ura, but it's more, how I saw it, is it departed a little bit more from the sci-fi, and it's, I guess, more like introspective, a lot of things, like supernatural, I guess. But it's like a combination of the outlandish premises that you get used to with Ura, mixed in with a little bit more realism this time, especially with the titular story of the mockumentary. So that was pretty interesting. But yeah, just to flick through a couple of pages of the art, it's amazing as always. But yeah, a lot of these stories are actually quite introspective. For example, if I were to go through just like the premise of each. I'm not going to go through this book in detail because it's very long, but the first one is called Sunday at Watertown. It's about a girl who has swapped faces with the reflection, like the reflections she sees in like the mirror or puddles. So if you look at her face here, when she's near a puddle, if a frog jumps on it, for example, her face will ripple instead. And the reason why she swapped faces was because back when she was a kid, she liked a guy and she didn't want, like, she was wondering, oh, this mole on my face, or this scar on my face, sorry, would it be better if it was on the opposite side of my face? So because there's a version of her in like the mirror dimension, I guess, and they swap, but it's this whole thing where that mirror version has been kept away for so long, and it's kind of out for revenge, kind of. So it's about her grappling with herself, literally, her mirror self in the mirror dimension. And there's another one where we have, I love this one actually, there's a mermaid one too. This boy finds this mermaid stuck inside this flask in a river and tries to take care of it. It's really sad because it's like the mermaid is drawn to be so, like, you look at this picture and you feel so bad for it, and it's kind of them trying to figure out what to do with the mermaid. So even just from the first 2 stories, you can see how it's pretty introspective. The stories in Harmful Innocent Toys were more experimental in like exploring, you know, what happens if time stops and this person stays here for an eternity. What happens if there are things that cannot be destroyed? They're like immortal beings, like these mermaids, which kind of you can see in this tankobon as well, but I just label it as more introspective. But yeah, a cool variety of stories still. We've got one where the premise is that this girl has a hole inside her body, and it's called, what's it called? This story, yeah, it was called Standing Like a Human. And they kind of test what they can do with the whole, but it ends off in a pretty interesting, what's it called? What's the word? Cliffhanger, which I like. There's another story where we have cats taking on the faces of dead people because they can apparently latch onto souls that are departing. But the main story that we have is the titular one, so the falsified history or the fake history of the Sanjin, which, let me go to it now. Oh, before I go to that, this one is just jam-packed. This was way more dense than the previous tankobon, but this specific story here, it's actually a collection of stories of different like gods and stuff. So there's like the god of the paths. We had a god, or like a mirror god or glass god. We had, I think there was even one who was like the god of no gods or something. Yeah, this guy was like the god of no gods, something like that. So interesting, but like look at the detail on the pages. But let's go to the Sanjin. So it's kind of like based off of a, I guess, urban legend of, so Sanjin or Yamabito, like the mountain people they call it. They're supposed to be these like human-like creatures that exist in the mountains. They're like carnivorous beasts pretty much, and this whole mockumentary just talks about everything to do with their existence, their history, like how we tried to domesticate them or have them as pets, but they were just too violent to keep, how they were hunted for different like their hides and stuff, but they didn't really taste nice with their meat. But yeah, all based on this Japanese folklore of the Yamabito, that is supposed to be this like ancient marginalized people in the mountains. So not my favorite. I think it's great if you love this type of documentary or mockumentary style work, but it was quite long and I kind of like, oh yeah, I got the point of it, but yeah, not my thing. And then the last section is pretty much just a bunch of different tiny shorts of things. So this is like a, I think it was a fairy, yeah, bodies of wind. Depending on how you opened the gap of a door, different wind spirits would come out in different forms. The previous one, which was an interesting one, was about a guy who tied a butterfly to his tongue. And after he died, it said that his soul was combined with the butterfly. So some amazing premises and concepts that are explored throughout. So there we go. That was the fake biography of the Sanjin by Shino Ura. I still prefer, I would say, I liked the Harmful Innocent Toys bit more, but this one was still great. Like, I think my favorite story throughout might have been the Ripple story and the mermaid story. So I got pretty sad reading these actually, so, which I didn't really get with the previous book. It was more just wonder, but this one, yeah, made me kind of sad with them, and just all these gods as well. I think it was like the god of the weather or something like that, and how they all interact, the god of no gods. Such insane stuff. But yeah, this is I think this came out pretty much the same time as the previous tankobon, but there's nothing else now. The only other stories you can find from Shino Ura will be on their website, but of course they're not translated, and they haven't released anything for like 4-5 years. So I am still patiently waiting. Hopefully they do come back with something in the future. But yeah, one of my favorite artists and mangaka of all time. So I will always be keeping a lookout, but highly recommend Shino Ura, of course. So yeah, that will be the first book for today. So let's move on to the second book for today, which is I can't say anything today properly. Mansect by Koga Shinichi. So this is, I believe, the third book in the Smudge imprint from Living the Line and Ryan Holmberg. This was an amazing read. Every single Smudge read that I had so far I've loved. So I've only read 3. So Mansect, then we had UFO Mushroom Invasion by Marina Shinokawa, and Her Frankenstein by Kawashima Norikazu. So Koga Shinichi coming out in English, I think literally for the first time was something that I did not expect at the time when it was announced, but I was so happy because Koga Shinichi has done so much work in a lot of like the Hibari releases. He was a big creator during that period of horror manga, and of course Junji Ito, who was inspired by Koga Shinichi. So Mansect was released, I think, last year in English, and it follows. It's not like one linear plot because it follows actually a couple of different characters in this world where we have a lot of mutations. People are turning into insects pretty much in all of their own ways and in all these different circumstances and scenarios. But of course, the art of Shinichi Koga is insanely good. I will also link a video in the description of the Eko Azarak. I think there was a live action that was actually done because Eko Azarak was a long series that Shinichi Koga did, and it's probably not going to be adapted into English because it's quite a long, like maybe 12 volumes or so, but something to look out for, and if you're interested in more Shinichi Koga. But in terms of talking about why I love this, number one, the art style. You can't go wrong with this sort of art style. He has a good balance of having the characters and them going through the everyday, so just the normal pages mixed in with the gory, shocking artwork like this. So yeah, if you haven't read it, this will have spoilers. I will try not to show off too much, but I highly recommend for you to read through this story first and then maybe come back to the video because it is another good spin-off, or a good spin on the humanity evolution genre, where humanity is evolving into something that seems pretty grotesque at first, but maybe there's the reason for that in the story. But there was a specific panel that I actually bookmarked here that I wanted to show off to. No spoilers because I'm not going to explain the context of this, but as soon as I saw this specific panel here, it's 2 people's faces on a tree. The first thing I thought of was, okay, Junji Ito. This I can see where Junji Ito could have taken inspiration for his art. It looks something like he would create or draw, just screaming faces embedded in something. So I think as well there was actually a video where in the past I may have linked it or shared it on my Instagram, but Junji Ito did a video where he went out to like a manga shop and took out manga that like inspired him. Like it's kind of an insight into what he would buy in terms of his taste of manga, and I'm pretty sure Koga Shinichi and maybe Umez as well was picked up in that whole. I'll try to find that video. That video is all in Japanese, but it's cool because you can see all the books that he picks out, and it's a nice insight into his taste. So I will try to find it. It's been a while since I've saw that, so we'll have a look. But yeah, it's going back to the story itself. We are going into spoiler territory, following different characters as they morph into insects. Some of it is like sad, some of it is very violent, and we go from character to character. There's no one main character that we follow throughout, although this guy on the front, he does appear the most, and we start off and we end off with him. And I love how this genre of horror, where it's like, okay, humanity evolving into something grotesque, is not black and white. Like, yes, it's grotesque throughout how we're seeing all the violence, but at the same time, the world is changing. Is this our natural evolution as a species to adapt to how the earth, the environment is changing as well? It always poses that questions towards the end of the story, which I think is amazing, because I love how we also kind of see that with the UFO mushroom invasion thing. It's not exactly the same, for sure, not exactly the same, but I love thinking about humanity and all of this transformation into these weird things like mushrooms and then insects and all that. And another spoiler thing as well, the fact that Hideo, who's like the main guy, has to suck blood is indicative of that, where like not only are we transforming into insects, we're transforming into different types of insects. And that means that conflict will still be a big thing. Different species of insects fighting, no cooperation whatsoever. So if everyone turns into an insect, then we are all it's a war of survival, pretty much. But yeah, I actually prefer for stories like this to bounce from character to character rather than just staying on one specific one, because it just makes it so much more interesting to explore different scenarios and characters and how people react to them, because a lot of the time it's, we see families reacting to it. We see people coping with trauma and loss. And Mansect, I think right now, is my favorite cover that Smudge has done. Right after Mansect, we have Face Meat by Bontentaro, which I haven't got yet. Then we have Gorilla Family by Ichiro. I keep forgetting the name there. And then the 6th book was announced, also by Norikazu. I think it's The Girl Who Something Something. It's hard because I think this one or the 6th book has my favorite cover art, but either way, amazing releases from Living the Line. I always highly recommend to check out Smudge. It's one of the coolest series or publications that we have right now in the English speaking world of manga. So big recommendation. I will look to pick up Face Meat and the Gorilla one together. So I think the Gorilla one will come out in the next couple months. So once that's out, I'll pick them up together. But yeah, Mansect, Koga Shinichi. I really want to pick up a Koga Shinichi like Hibari release as well. He's got some of those. Some of them are quite expensive too, but that's one of my priorities in terms of more horror manga coming down the line. But yeah, Mansect by Koga Shinichi. Then the next book that I'll go through here is this one by Yumi Sudou. This is Midnight Blue. So I have shown off Yumi Sudou in the past because I have read a couple of their GL works, and this one is a collection of short stories. Although they're not GL, they're just straight romance, pretty much. It's also got this nice blue ink to it. But to be honest, I would say that Midnight Blue, the stories in this aren't as good as her GL stuff. There's kind of it's not my thing. I'll explain like some of the premises and the concepts of some of the stories. So for example, one of them is the first one is called Memories in the Box. It's about a teacher who wakes up hungover and he sees this woman he's never seen before, and it turns out that woman was his student that he had like 5 years ago. Another story we have is called The Dream I Also Saw, which I kind of liked. This one is where is it? Yes. This one is where a high school girl is obsessed with this art show announcer or host, this man over here. He announces his retirement and she gets a dream where she meets him. But on the next day, at his last day on the job, he talks about pretty much the same dream as well. So they kind of like saw each other in the dream, that sort of thing. But the overall tone of the stories they are quite emotional. Nothing like too crazy or tragic. I would say they're more leaning towards the wholesome side and the sadder side of things. But there wasn't anything there that really captured my attention, although the last story and the titular one, which is the Midnight Blue story, is about this girl who passed away, and every year the group of friends come to meet again to reminisce, but only one of the guys can see the girls. So yeah, it's a pretty sad story, but overall I prefer more of the GL stuff that Yumi Sudou has done. For example, the Yumen or Hashibashi one, that was a very tragic and sad story. I think they, right now from what I've read, they excel a little bit more in that. But I've only read 3 books from them so far. Looking to read more, definitely. But yeah, if anyone was interested in Yumi Sudou and this specific work, I don't think it's out in English right now. But I hope Yumi Sudou does get stuff in English, because it's like one of the GL authors that I really love at the moment. But yeah, supernatural stuff, so the dreams, we got like a story about fox people too, had the ghost girl, so more on that in this volume. So yeah, that was Midnight Blue by Yumi Sudou. Now we move on to the last book. So this here is the art book called Graphism in the Wilderness by Kiyoshi Awazu. So I showed it off in a previous video just as a haul, but now I've actually read through it and can talk about it in a little bit more detail. So this book was published in conjunction with an exhibition of the same name in 2007-2008, Graphism in the Wilderness as well. So that exhibition included over like works pretty much that was from his whole career. So he was born from 1929 to 2009. And in terms of what he's done, Kiyoshi Awazu has done pretty much everything. Painting, posters, prints, book design, architecture even, music, film performance and theater, so much. And throughout this book you have, it's kind of separated like chronologically, so we go from his earlier work, like this stuff, to the later work that he's more known for. But to give a little bit of background about Kiyoshi Awazu, his father had, like in the past, like one impactful event for him was that his father had died in a railroad accident early on, and so the only things he had to remember him was like an article of the accident and 3 photographs of his father, and that was like, I guess, one big thing that influence his art going forward. And the term graphism, or the word graphism, is according to the website, defined as the permeation of everyday life by automatically self-reproducing visual messages driven by modern reproduction technology, which I think is an interesting definition. Not that I fully understand that, to be honest, but the kind of the first breakout for Kiyoshi Awazu was he won the 1955 grand prize at the Nisenbi exhibition, or the Japan Advertising Artists Club exhibition, for his artwork Give Our Sea Back, which is this one here, I believe. That was supporting fishermen who were banned from their jobs by the American occupation at that time. So that was the first instance of him really garnering a lot of attention. And he was, of course, featured in a lot of the Angura theater movement with his posters as well. So I did, at least in terms of how I'm recording this, 2 videos ago, I recorded the 100 poster masterpieces from Japanese underground theater. So check that out. You'll see a couple of his stories there. But what we are focusing on right now is we're going to just go through chronologically, looking at a lot of the posters and illustrations that he has done for various things. And we have these little sections of articles, explanations, analysis on his works as well. And in terms of some of the info that I got here, so the first section was from 1948 to 1968. There was this section here about sketching, where Awazu would sketch people on trains, sometimes drawing sleeping or drunk people, but he drew thousands of them, but threw all of them away pretty much. And there's an example of some book binding. Oh, he talks about book binding in this section too, and just the process of some of his works. But yeah, the reason why I love Kiyoshi Awazu so much is because it's very psychedelic, especially his later works. The very vibrant color palettes, really strong use of rainbows throughout a lot of his works, and strong motifs too. And I love how it gives me a sense of like controlled chaos throughout. Oh, this is a poster for The Face of Another by Koba Abe. I read this book. I think it's one of my least favorite from Koba Abe, to be honest. My favorite being The Boxman, but Face of Another wasn't that great. Yeah, you see a lot of these hands pop up with a lot of these stamps too. But according to an article, Kiyoshi Awazu's goal was to, quote, extend the rural into the city, foreground the folklore, reawaken the past, summon back the outdated to combat soulless symbols. So a mixture of traditional Japanese art and motifs with Western pop influences and icons. And so specifically for this one, I wrote down, this bottom right artwork, for example, it's a cover art done for Contemporary Cities and Architecture, a book by Noboru Kawazoe, like a art critic. This one is a design criticism journal that he did the cover for. Great stuff throughout. There's a lot of works to go through. But yeah, I'll show through every single one. I don't think I have to censor anything because otherwise it doesn't really do much of that. So we have 1969 to 77. These two, if you watch the poster video, you have seen both of them. So these two are for a play called, I think, The Dog God. So we have two versions of it, red and color. Okay, got some other posters. These are my favorite types of posters from him. The ones with borders and a lot of color. It's very simple in terms of like, there's not much line work for some of these, but the colors make up for that. But at the same time, you have this, for example, where you have that controlled chaos I was talking about that I love. More posters that were for Angura Theatre. And there's one specific part that I noted down as well that I wanted to show off that was quite interesting. Yes, okay, this was really interesting. I did not know that at one point, maybe he's only done this, but he's done some manga, it looks like. And so these manga appear in a specific book called Stetaro. I've seen that book before. It's a collaboration between a couple of, like, two other artists or musicians, I think. But I'm trying to think of whether I want to buy it just for these, because Kiyoshi Awazu doing manga was something I did not expect, but it looks so sick. Just to flip through and showcase these as well. I wish they were a little bit more, like they were a little bit bigger for us to see, but you know, I love manga, so seeing an artist like this do manga is always cool. Yeah, Sute Taro, that's the name of the book. I will look more into it. I don't know if I'll want to get it because it's not mainly manga. It's like, I guess, other stuff. But yeah. All right, let's move on. Even more rainbow. So much rainbow throughout. A lot of faces, a lot of mouths, hands, eyes, like motifs that appear throughout his work. I believe this is an Angura, maybe? I'm not too sure, actually. I don't remember seeing this one specifically, but yeah. One thing that I was talking about with the Angura poster video was, imagine just seeing all of these in real life, because they would be so big, 70 by 100 centimeters. And they were silkscreen. So like, manually created, not like the posters we have just printed out today. So that's another big reason why I love that poster book so much. Okay, so we have another section here that I'll go through, and Kiyoshi Awazu has done so much, so this work feels like it only scratches the surface. Like there's specific stuff that only focus on his posters, for example, and architecture. There's so many other things. So this is most likely just the first book that I will have from him. It's got more cover art for different journals, publications. All right. Yeah, I would have loved studying more if my textbooks had his illustrations on it. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, you see a lot of these stamps. I'm not actually too sure what these stamps are. We saw them previously with the hands, but I'm not too knowledgeable on that. So I'm not sure what they mean. And I'm sorry that there's a little bit of glare. I don't really have any other option for it. So hopefully you can see all of them properly. Right, on to the next section, 1978 to 2001. So you can already see the evolution of his artwork because, number one, there's just so much more rainbow, so much more lines throughout. They're more clustered together. We're still seeing the same motifs of hands, of eyes, stamps, and even turtles now. This one is actually one of my favorite works from him, this Null Mask one. All the rainbow throughout there too. But yeah, I just love how psychedelic some of these are. Contemporary print exhibition of Kiyoshi Awazu. I think as well, oh yeah, I did note down 203. Okay, this one, this specific artwork on the left, this was a poster in 1984 for New Spirit in Japan, a collaboration between Kiyoshi Awazu and a kimono company called Juraku. So, wait, am I right? Is that the right one? 124. Bottom left. Yes. This is, yeah, that's the right one. So that's cool. I'm just mixing it up with. I'm just not sure if I was mixing it up, but that should be the one that I wrote down for. And coming up, there was one where, okay, yeah, all these ones here. These two pages are Hanafuda cards for each month, or all of the different months. So got more sketchy stuff, more body to body works. Okay, I'll go through a little bit more quickly. So good. I wonder how hard it is to get this one, because I know Kiyoshi Awazu works in books in general can be a bit tough to find. Although this one wasn't expensive, it just didn't pop up as regularly as I see other books pop up. This one is an interesting one. This H2O Earthmen series, I guess, it was for an exhibition of the same name, where the concept of it was Earthman, he speaks of this E, and E is the most frequently used letter in the alphabet, stands for Earth and environment, and it's kind of using that as a symbol to view our society and our world and its future. So this exhibition came out in 1994. I will link a website in the description about that exhibition, but that's what this little baby character is about. And then we also have some sculpture as well. Skip through this. A lot of the back section is just all this writing. I think we're pretty much at the end. Yeah, there we go. This is Awazu there. And the end has like, yeah, all of that stuff was like conversations, biography, and we have different pictures of his childhood. That's him there. That is him everywhere, pretty much. Okay, Awazu. There we go. And that is the end. And this thing at the back is every artwork had a number on it, so you can see when it was made and the title of it. cool. And I'll show the front inside cover too. There you go, another collage. So that was the Graphism in the Wilderness art book, a little bit of a more detailed look at it. Well, actually very detailed because I went through every single page, but yeah, a great art book. It's gotten me more interested in getting more art books from in the future, but that will come at a later date. I just love how psychedelic, like his works, they remind me of fingerprints because of how close these lines are, how chaotic it is, you know, like your fingers. That's one big thing that I think about when I view his art. But yeah, I highly recommend Kiyoshi Awazu. He's got tons of art books out, so you have a lot of choice for what type of art book you would want. But that was for today's video, the art book, Yumi Sudou, Mansect, and Shino Ura. So I hope you enjoyed today's Manga Talks video. That was quite varied. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.